Hello and welcome back to the WSMX programming training. In this lab recording, we're talking about lab number 6, the analog SHMU. So SHMU provides you the ability to quickly sweep a parameter over a test suite. And in this lab, we will implement a simple one-dimensional SHMU where we only sweep over one parameter, so we only have one axis. Usually in a SHMU you can also sweep over two parameters, and then you would have two axes or a two-dimensional SHMU. A two-dimensional SHMU, if you want to know more about it, you can also go to the V93000 Smart Test 8 basic user training. There's also a lab where you are supposed to set up a two-dimensional SHMU. So here it's just a one-dimensional one, but they are not so different. Okay, before we go on, let me also note here that for this lab number 6, you need an online tester. So you need an online smart test session because we don't have the offline result emulation for this lab. So if you don't have an online tester or online smart test session at your disposal, you can still do the labs, follow the lab manual, and in the end, when you want to verify that you did everything right, you have to come back to this lab recording. Okay, so with that, let's continue and go on with task 6.1, create and execute an analog SHMU in the test flow. And for that, we jump into the smart test session here. We continue where we left from lab number 5 with our WSMX_lab program here. And it says that here in the distortion AC package, we should go to the distortion flow and copy it and paste it here also in the distortion AC package. And then we are supposed to change the name to analog SHMU. Okay, so now we are here in the analog SHMU. First of all, we copied it, changed the name, but didn't change the name here. For that, you have to set in here analog SHMU exactly the name of the test flow. If you just click here and then enter space, then it's done automatically. Next step is that we have to remove the definition of the two test suites here, the distortion and the distortion_ds API. Here we go. Then of course here in the execute part we also have to take them out. And the next step under bullet point number 5 is that we add the definition for a SHMU. So for that we have here SHMU, and then we call it should SHMU as given in the lab manual. We open the brackets and now we have to add a couple of more parameters. The target test suite, for that we have here the distortion mod. There is an execution order to define, which is horizontally, and then we have the axis, which here is the x-axis, and here now we key in the resource type, which is a suit parameter. Whoops, forgot the semicolon here. We have a resource name, which is our SLC amplitude, and then we have a range start, which is 0.25, and we have a range stop, which is 0.45, and we have the range steps, which we will set to 5 for the beginning. Of course, in the execute part, we have to also add in statements such that this SHMU is executed. And that would it be bullet point number 7. Now, of course, we have to also go to the main test flow and tell it that it has to call this analog SHMU flow. So here we go. We have here a new flow, which we call SHMU, and that one calls the analog SHMU test flow, which we just created. And then of course here also we have to execute this new test flow in the main test flow. Okay, that would it be for bullet point number 8. And now last thing to do here in this task number 6.1 is to execute the shmoo. For that we just run the entire test program, and you now see here that the shmoo was executed. You can go here into the results, you will see the shmoo here, and of course we don't have not applicable values here since we shmoo over a test suite parameter. So that would it be for task 6.1, and we will continue with task 6.2 in another video. So hear you later. Bye bye.